Hi guys, welcome back to Blue Moon Rising TV. Manchester City have suffered the first defeat of the season. It was going to happen, it had to happen eventually, and it happened at the hands of Spurs, which is Guardiola's main arch nemesis. Everyone says that it's Mourinho.
No, it's
but
not.
In reality, the stats suggest that it's Pochettino who has the best record against Guardiola, going back to their La Liga days.
Yeah,
as well.
even when he was managing at Espanyol, obviously crosstown rivals of Barcelona, he historically was very good against them, holding them to draws and so on, restricting their obviously potent attacking force, and he just knows how to play against Guardiola. I guess in many ways he's the antithesis of what a Guardiola team is in terms of he's not the antithesis, he's the antidote, I guess, isn't he, in terms of how
he plays good. I think he plays good football.
Yeah.
You know, they're exciting, they're fast, they're young. And I think another thing we've got to say is Pochettino is a year ahead of Guardiola in his shaping of the team. It's still a very new and young early days for Manchester City and Guardiola. But we'll go on to our first fan cam and just get stuck in and then react from there. So these are the fan cams from the weekend. People coming out at White Hart Lane, and a familiar situation of coming out to a loss, unfortunately.
It's going to be a long, hard season, and it's still a learning progress for Guardiola as well. So this is one of his toughest tests that he's had, and now we're just going to make sure we get through it.
I've got a question for you.
Go on.
Looking back at what Manchester United have done since, did we get carried away by exactly what that result against Manchester United? In hindsight, if they finish in 5th or 6th, possibly, I don't know at the minute where they're going to finish, but they drop points again. Did we get a bit too carried away by that result, or were we as good as we thought we were?
No, we were very good that day, and there's always, regardless of a team's abilities, there's always an added incentive in a derby. Like a team usually overperforms in a derby. Both teams do, they go for it more, and obviously there was the Mourinho-Guardiola factor. Both teams wanted it. United were off the back of a very strong run of form, and since then
they'd won every game.
Yeah, they won every game since then. They capitulated since then. It's not a coincidence, in my opinion, that their form has dropped. So no, that result was good, and the football we have played is good, and the start we had is good. Everything is very good, in fact. It's nearly perfect. I think if someone said to you at the start of October we would have played 12 games, won 10, drawn 1, lost 1, you'd be like, that's amazing.
I'd beat your hand off.
Yeah, exactly. My hand wouldn't be here. It'd be gone in your belly.
It
would have been eaten, yeah. It would have been bit off. But anyway, but it's incredible. But it's so easy to look at this small run of 2 games out of the bigger picture and kind of get downhearted about it. But this is always going to happen. I can guarantee that Guardiola in general will be learning, as the young gentleman said there, more from this game than he will from the 10 wins in a row. It's always easy to judge things and look at the positives when you win in 10 games, and it's great. It is bloody brilliant. I wish that happened all the time. But you don't really necessarily learn about character or about the individuals until they have a setback. I mean, I was doing a really bad analogy to Paul off camera before about how, in general, when put it this way, when you're learning to drive or something like that and everything's going really well, you're like, oh, I'm the best driver, look how good I am. And then you have a near scrape or someone beeps at you and all of a sudden you're flustered and nearly go off the road, or your destructor has to slam on the brakes for you. And then after that you lose your confidence a little bit because you're learning it. If someone does that to you when you've been driving for ages, you're not really bothered, you shrug it off and get on with it. And it's the same with City at the moment, this team. Everything's been going really well, the learning's been brilliant, doing better than we expected. And the second we had a slight bump in the road or something happened that wasn't necessarily predicted, the players look a little bit nervous now. The fans have gone a bit nervous. All those worries have come rushing back. Now we don't feel quite ready all of a sudden. And it's part of the learning process. We've just basically regressed a little bit to last year's form or last year's mentality. But that's going to happen until we learn how to be a Guardiola team properly. So far it's been very good. But these bumps, they're going to happen. And I don't think it's a slight worry personally.
So you think that they were bumps in the road, to carry on your car analogy, and not head-on collisions with a lorry?
Basically we've got nearly swapped off by a lorry, a very big lorry, and Spurs are a very good team, and it's going to happen. It scares you when you come with a team like that. And Celtic, set in the nerves because they showed them what to do, and then a combination of that and then tiredness, and the players are already tired. I know that sounds crazy to some people, but we're playing a very intense formation, and in terms of pressing, the way the players have got to go for it. And I think I said last week on the fan cam reactions, or even a couple of weeks ago, that I was worried that injuries and tiredness might start to set in, because it just does when you play such an intense way. And players are already looking tired at Swansea. They're already starting to look more tired at Celtic because they're running a lot. And
is the solution now to perhaps bring in some of the younger players and start to trust? You suggested playing Alex Garcia, didn't you?
I would love to do that. One slight problem we've got there is that we've loaned out a lot of the 18, 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. They've all, the ones that maybe could have come in for the odd job every now and then, they've all gone on loan. So now in our EDS we've actually got a bunch of 17-year-olds who who are just too young.
Yeah.
So we've actually got
around just on the periphery of the squad though, on the subs bench, we do have Angelino, we've got Garcia. Did Maffeo? He stayed, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's there. He can play it right back, but I would definitely, in general, consider. I wanted to start Garcia for this game. I actually thought he would have done a better job than Fernando at keeping the ball. He's much more comfortable at receiving it from the keeper and so on. As
Fernando
you saw,
just doesn't look like a Guardiola player, does he? Well, Alex Garcia is there to be moulded.
Yeah,
Fernando, he was sold to us and he came to us as a destroyer. And I don't think Fernando is necessarily right up there in that top bracket of destroyer.
He's a functional player.
He's functional, he'll do a job.
Yeah, I don't mind Fernando. I think he's like in a different kind of team and a different era and a different network. I think he works very well in terms of what he does, but he's not going to be able to do a Busquets or
he's not Alonso, is he?
He's not even a Fernandinho either. He's not confident in the ball enough to do that. I don't really blame him for not being Fernandinho. He can't be something he isn't. And he'll be all right every now and then. But against a team like Tottenham, it wasn't a bad lineup as such, but he was probably always going to be one of the weaker ones to be exposed by a really high intensity pressing. That's why personally, obviously it could have gone entirely wrong if we played Garcia too. It's easy to say these things in hindsight. Gundogan was never going to play because it would have been 3 games in 8 days for someone who's just come back from a knee dislocation.
Yeah.
And that was right. You just kind of do wish maybe Del was fit and maybe Yaya hadn't been a massive odious fool with his agent, because if Yaya was not fooling about a little bit, he might be useful every now and then, as a backup. Whatever. But
it'd be interesting to see what Yaya would be able to do at this point, because it could be one of those where you put so much expectation on him, like we did last season, and in the end he just can't deliver. His body can't quite function at the same level. I think there is. Like Guardiola himself said, if a team had 3 Fernandinhos, it would win the league. I think if we had 2 Fernandinhos, we would win the league.
Yeah, we'll probably win the league with one.
But having 2 in centre mid is the first time we'd lined up with 2 central holding midfielders as well. I think, hadn't it? So it was a new style of play. He was reacting, Guardiola, but if anyone is going to react to this result and hopefully learn something from it, it is Guardiola, isn't it? And we've got 2 weeks now without a game. He can sit back, he can ingest everything, he'll watch it again and again and again and again, and he'll work out exactly what went wrong.
He's always said that he doesn't mind players making mistakes as long as they play the right way. He said you have a license to make mistakes if you play the football the right way. And that's a bit of like playing the Joker card there for me, because what he's basically saying is giving players an excuse not to be that great, but he's also saying, if you don't do what I'm saying, I'm going to get you.
Well, Joe Hart learned that
exactly,
very early on,
and I think there's a few people in that team who will be a little bit worried, including maybe some of the fullbacks at the moment, because Kolarov, he's been great.
Now you mentioned that, let's go on to this next one, and we can use that
He's talking about Zabaleta, isn't he, I think, this lad?
Yeah, so we can use that to bounce off to talk about the fullbacks.
I think it'll be his last season, but I don't think he should call it a day. I think he should go on to America or something like that.
Zabaleta to America!
Is it the end for Pablo Zabaleta at Manchester City? We were kind of happy. Well, you know what? One of the things is you can get a bit blinded, can't you, by nostalgia
by love
and love for
love is
Pablo
blind.
Zabaleta. Because love is blind, and Pablo Zabaleta's love is endless. But he is a man that he's been at the club since 2008. Before the money came in. He'd already committed his future to us.
Yeah.
And as a result of it, he speaks with a Manc accent now. He's got a kid that's a full-on Manc. He's got a wife. I don't know what having a wife means. Everything.
What a
guy. I was going to say a wife who's local, but I don't think she is.
No, she's Spanish.
But anyway, he has fully embraced Manchester City.
He goes to Didsbury, Chippy.
And
Chippy and Didsbury, I love that.
What a hero. And so, what do you reckon he gets? Do you reckon he gets scraps?
I can get chips and gravy.
Chips, peas, gravy, I reckon, with scraps. Salt and vinegar. What does your favourite footballer, do you think, what does it have at the Chippy?
I'm a fish
Let us know.
Fish and chips fan.
Yeah, he's a fish and chips man. Let us know what you have as well. But we've got to a point though where when he renewed his contract, he didn't renew his contract. He said that he was going to stay. He came out in summer. We were all happy. But are we starting to see our ageing, leggy fullbacks exposed? Especially against teams like Tottenham. I mean, you play that game again now. Who do you put at fullbacks? Because they're all like Gerard Clichy is probably okay. He's sort of rolling back the years a little bit. But even he's starting to suffer a little bit, and we don't really have anyone. It goes from one extreme, which is these old players who've been around at the club for a long time, to the other end of the spectrum, which is players who are young and inexperienced. And we've got no one in between. And I think a lot of people are starting to point fingers and say that maybe that's one area. And I remember people saying it in summer where we really needed to look into overhauling, and we didn't. And are we now starting to pay the price?
I think in general, and I can back this up again by once again with preview. I think you got it wrong. I think you should have played Sanya and Clichy. Zabet was poor against Celtic. He got absolutely rinsed by Dembele time and time again. Zabet, we love him unconditionally, and rightfully so.
It's really sad to say, isn't it?
And I was happy to see him stay because he's Zabaleta. But at the same time, a lot of us were aware last season he wasn't very good either. And maybe we should have said goodbye. Maybe we should have been a bit more ruthless. But I think what it came down to is that there was no one they thought they could get in or what they wanted at the moment, at the time. And maybe they thought it was still impossible.
Hard to come across, aren't they, good quality fullbacks?
There's not many, and most of them have got
we've
flaws.
Seen a lot of teams, Liverpool are playing Milner at left back. I mean, is this the point where we might start seeing some of our players under the the classic tutelage of Pep Guardiola moved? We thought that we might see Fernandinho at right back by now, for example.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is something that could happen? I think it is.
It could happen, yeah. I mean, I think it's sometimes better the devil, whatever. Like, and I reckon if there was some flaws with Kolarov and Clichy and Sanya and Zabaleta, I think they decided just maybe to stick with them for this year while they identify the right player for that position. Maybe they thought, this will be a year where we slightly ease in Angelino and Maffeo, two very highly rated young prospects there. And I think we still have time to turn it around. But yeah, we could see some players with that. I don't think it'll happen, maybe, personally, if I'm being totally honest. I don't think Fernandinho will be. I think
Fernandinho is too good in his position.
It's easy to say should have done this, should have done that, but that defence should have been better than it was anyway in general. Like, there was a lot of individual errors for all 5 of the goals that we conceded in the last 2 games. In general, it was just tiredness and form.
Tiredness, a lot of games. Eventually, it's going to happen. A bubble is going to burst.
We do need to change our fullback, so that will happen. I think it'll be next summer. I think it was realistic to say we couldn't change 10 players in the summer. No. It's just not possible.
And it's probably not a good idea, in fact, either. You need some sort of substance there, some sort of DNA stability. Or whatever, stability, to carry things on. And in fact, one of the things is, though, this team, before it kicked off, it looked like a bit like a Pellegrini team, and in the end, it played a bit like one as well. We're seeing Navas on the right. Again, wears his heart on his sleeve, you can't fault his work rate, but I think Nolito, I keep saying it, against Celtic he scored. He didn't have his best game, but I do think that people are wildly underestimating how much we miss a player like Nolito. Because he works his socks off, and I think he's just a general upgrade on Navas. Yeah, we miss him. We missed him a lot in that game. I think in general we just. I think, the confidence just drops a little bit in the team shape and system, but it is just part of the course. But back to Zabaleta question, I think, he'll be here still until the end of the season, but I think this is his last season as a Manchester City player, I'm almost certain. And I think he should be used very very sparingly and rotated often with Sanya. He shouldn't have started 2 games in a row, in my opinion. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe Sanya isn't fully there or whatever. Maybe he's got a little bit of a niggle still. But Sanya, thankfully, last season, though, he was one player who we could depend on.
He was great.
He stepped
great
in
the Euros.
Mark. He played a lot of games, one of the best players in the tournament at the Euros. So thank God he's there, and I think we're going to end up having to rely on him.
Maybe he's not quite as comfortable either in that system as Zabaleta is on the training ground. Maybe there's a reason that. Maybe he just prefers Zabaleta in that. Yeah. We haven't seen much of that inverted fullback swing recently in the last few games. It has kind of gone quiet a little bit, hasn't it?
I guess when you're playing 2 holding midfielders, then there's no need to bring them coming into midfield. But we have seen less of that. Guardiola's gonna have the answers. What do you think anyway? Do you think that it is the end of Pablo Zabaleta at Manchester City? Is he going to get much more game time? Is Sanya, for some reason, dropping down the pecking order? Let us know what you think. We'll come on to the last fan cam now, which is another controversial topic that doesn't seem to be going away, and it's the subject of Claudio Bravo. Let's hit play on this one.
Just some of those decisions to pass. I mean, I've said it a few times during the game. It's like, why not just clear it? Just old school. If you're in doubt, just kick it into the stand. And I just don't understand what he was doing there.
Oof, I mean, this is a big hot topic that's going to keep coming back. But it's the whole: can English football? Are there certain ways of playing football that do not work in England, first of all? And is one of them that your goalkeeper cannot pass it out from the back? Is that something that will just not work in England?
No, this is nonsense. It's 100% nonsense. I think we're more scared as a fan base than the team is in general. I watched that. I was baffled to read back the criticism of Bravo personally after that game, because I didn't think he did anything wrong. I think we're just scared of passing goalkeepers because it's never been a thing. Like the gentleman said it there as well about old school style. And I think that's exactly where the mentality is coming from. The whole we haven't been taught since we were kids that keepers should pass it, ever. We've always been like, clear it.
It is a given, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like they have to clear it.
And seeing us, Bravo 5 yards from his own goal line, getting closed down and only just passing it out to the fullback, that terrifies us. It doesn't terrify Guardiola. It doesn't terrify Barcelona fans. It doesn't terrify Claudio Bravo. It just terrifies us because to us it looks nervy. He knew what he was doing. In fact, the only people who were actually comfortable in the system that we were playing at the weekend were Stones and him. They were the only two actually comfortable. I feel quite strongly about this. I think in general we're far too set in our ways as an English culture. We had Gary Neville, who's like the obviously former England assistant manager there, saying that this style of football, like Claudio Bravo should be hoofing it long and whatever. This is a system that's built on passing it around from the very back. And if he doesn't start the goalkeeper, the system fails. So he's saying basically, and I think this shows a lack of understanding of certain styles of play and in coaching in general in the English game, that they only know one way. And obviously never was taught Ferguson's way. Very successful, but the idea that that is the one way is nonsense. But then basically...
He was a very rigid, functional player as well. He hardly tore things up. He always played in that one position. He played how he needed to play. He was told how to, and that was it. And it wasn't
it's not exactly total football, is it?
Expansive football, exactly.
It was fun football and good, but the idea that what he works one way is nonsense. And I think we need to have a little bit of patience, and we just learn to accept that for every time he might be caught out once every 2 games and it might be terrifying. But in general, this is how our system works. And if we don't play it this way, we don't see those beautiful goals in the counter-attack against Swansea, against West Ham or whatever. We don't see those goals because this is where they start. This is the core fundamental of a Guardiola system. It's built around a keeper being comfortable in possession, and we just have to accept it because it's going to carry on, and rightfully so. It's going to carry on being what it is because you don't get someone like Guardiola and then immediately say, oh, your keeper should knock it long. It's like, well, how then do we keep the ball from the back if the keeper's knocking it long? That is what this system is about. And I think we're scared as a fan base. We're terrified. The team isn't, and Guardiola's, and we need to get over it, in my opinion.
I think by the end of this season, people who think like that are going to be proven wrong. And there's a lot of talk and a lot of mythical bullshit, I'm going to say, about what English football is and what you can and can't do here. Look, the English football has been proven years and years and years to be a very difficult league. It's very difficult to hold on to it.
Crap. Being honest, English football, the English style has failed at an international stage for a long time. We obsess over this idea. It can work, but it's not as if we can't preach to anyone about what to do or how to play, because in general, we usually get it wrong. And you look at the great teams that do well in Europe for English teams, that tend to be a mixture of English bulldog spirit, blessed with, dare I say, overseas technical players. And it's just a fact. We need to ingratiate these things and really accept them into our game. And I think it's just Guardiola is trying to do things that are different. And I think we should that.
Gary Neville, this is a manager who, when he's been at England, obviously England haven't done anything. Valencia, I mean, I like the man as a pundit.
Likewise, I think he's good. I think he's wrong.
Generally speaking, he's good. But in this case, we think you're wrong, Gary Neville. Let us know what you think anyway. Are you still every time got your heart in your mouth whenever Claudio Bravo touches the ball? It's worth mentioning that his pass rate was better than any other player at City apart from John Stones, I think. I think that was a stat I read.
He knows what he's doing. He does know what he's doing.
And it's going to take a little bit of time to adapt. So if it's not perfect straight away, well, that's to be understood. You know, you'd let off of the players. The thing is that we are so used and so ingrained in our mentality as Englishmen, English football viewers, that we expect it to be this one way. And, you know, English football, from when you're a kid, the reason that we don't produce good footballers in England, we don't win anything, is part of the reason is it's all based on brute strength and hoofing it and route one. And for years and years, it's taken us a long time to be able to get out over the whole route one football. We've managed finally, I think, to get through that. People appreciate tiki-taka, but still these things, these relics of an older time, they're still there, and unfortunately it's because the little kids have been told to play like that from the beginning, and Dad stood on the touchline telling the kids to play like that, because when you're a kid it probably is the best way to play because you've not got the ability, but that is such short-termism.
Do you know what, the best thing I saw, I watched, it was some tournament was online of the summer. It was like a City under 14s, under 15s team. It had Sean Wright Phillips' kid was playing there, for example. It had Alex, do you know that Frimpong guy who played for Arsenal? His brother was playing in that team as well. Full of loads of great young footballers. And I was watching City like under 40. It's just online, so I watched it. And they were passing it out from the back, the keeper composed, taking a touch, passing it around teams. They were winning like 10-0. It was incredible to watch these bunch of young Mancunian lads. They're all young English lads, all of them. They're all there just passing it around like a Barcelona La Masia team. We've all seen the footage of, look at this amazing Barcelona under 13s team play 100 passes and score a goal. Our teams do that now as well. We are basically reinventing how teams should play football from the very bottom upwards in England, and it's great. And we should basically be proud of that, in my opinion. And Guardiola is going to come over here, be a man of his principles, and I respect that massively. Ter Stegen made a big mistake at the weekend. I think we've all seen it as well.
Yeah.
And it's like now saying everything Barcelona have been doing for years, right, wipe it off because he messed up. He come out and said afterwards, no, I'm not going to change our play. I made a big mistake. I got it wrong.
Yeah.
But you don't just.
But they will score more goals as a result of that than they will concede.
Even the zonal marking thing as well. How often do we see in the English media people criticise zonal marking? Like the successful teams win leagues and Champions Leagues with zonal marking, but now because we all associate man marking as an English thing, we still see pundits come out and question the system, not the individuals, when it goes wrong. It's such a weird mentality in UK media in general.
It's
like,
ingrained.
Do we question man marking when the team loses? No, we don't.
Are you surprised? The thing is, it's no coincidence, or well, it is a coincidence, but it's an interesting one, that it's the day when Gareth Southgate has been named his England manager, and he's put Wayne Rooney as his fucking
backwards
captain,
as the rest of them.
and it is just indicative of everything that's wrong with English football, and it's a reason why everyone keeps saying it's a poison chalice. Well, it is if you fill the chalice full of poison yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway, never mind. That's our rant over with. I'm gonna have to get the beeps out for this.
Basically, yeah, Guardiola, he hasn't been shown up. He's just been shown to be a work in progress, as we all expected. It's been a great start so far, and I have never felt more happy and positive to be a City fan. It was better a week and a half ago, but it's still pretty awesome now. It's easy to, if anything, we probably were too good at the start, because now this loss feels like the worst thing ever.
We were too good, guys.
If we'd lost the fourth game and then won another 4 in a row, no one would be bothered now. It's just the fact it's the most recent memory, and it's easy to get worried. This is great for Guardiola. It's great for learning. It's weird that we're top of the league still, and it's like a free hit, basically. If we lost...
What, can you pick a better time to lose than going into having Guardiola as your manager, who's going to obsess over every little detail?
He's got time
and he's
to
got
as well.
2 weeks to do it. He's going to be in that office at the football academy, the CFA, from 8:30 until 8 o'clock probably every day now, obsessing over what went wrong, and he's going to have the solutions.
Yes.
And we're going to see them against Everton in 2 weeks.
It's going to be glorious.
Guys, that's the end. We hope at the end of that you feel A, as angry as we do about just life, and B, don't feel too bad and too worried about the direction that Manchester City are going in, because it's in the capable hands of the best manager on the planet. Guys, drop a like on the video, comment, get involved. There's so much to talk about. We really want to hear with you, and we will get into the comments as well. We'll reply to yours. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in a bit.